Hi everyone. What we're going to look at today, we're going to look at the November 2021 Unit 2. So carry on with what we did last week, the NUT Calculator Unit 1. And this is for intermediate tier. I will do a separate video on higher tier shortly for you, so that you're prepared for your next exam on the 14th of June in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Question 1. A. Solve 7x minus 3 equals to 11. So a very, very standard solving equation question. Okay, so remember when you solve equation, you always do the opposite operation so that you can go backwards and then solve for the x. So basically all you got to do is plus 3 on both sides. Okay, so you got 7x equal to 14. 7x means 7 times x. You're going to divide by 7 on both sides as well, the opposite of times. So your x is going to be 2, and that is your final answer. You can actually substitute it back just to check your answer. So 7 times 2 is 14. 14 take away 3 equals to 11. So you know you've done it correctly. B. Find the value of 3f plus 2g when f is equal to 5.8 and g is equal to minus 3.7. Okay, so this is another standard substitution question. So 3f means 3 times f. You turn your letters into your numbers. Okay, so whatever the number is, 5.8 here, you just substitute it back into f. So 3 times 5.8. Apologize, I don't actually have a calculator software on my MacBook yet, so I will have to look into it, how to get a software so I can actually show you the calculator, and that's a little bit better for you to understand the process. But basically for this question, you literally just plug in the calculator. Now in the calculator, when you got 87.5, this for some people that don't know, you need to actually press the button, say SD, and you would get the answer in decimal, which is 7.4. Okay, right, so next one, you got 2g, mean 2 times g. So 2 times minus 3.7. So turns your letter into the number that they've given you there. And just plug that in your calculator. Okay, so make sure that you've done it minus 3.7, and that should give you minus 7.4. Okay, so once you got the answers for both of them, remember your expression is 3f plus 2g, so 17.4 plus minus 7.4. Okay, don't forget this minus here. This is where the people usually make mistakes and lose the mark. Okay, so plus and minus make a minus, so you got 17.4, take away 7.4. With that calculator, I know it's 10, which you can plug in that calculator and just check your answer at the end. Question 2. A. One of these fractions can be written as a recurring decimal. Circle your answer. Now, so this is a multiple choice question, but you need to be able to work out each of the fraction and then to see which one is a recurring decimal. A recurring decimal is a decimal when you've got a digit that's repeating itself and it never stops. For example, 0.3 recurring with a dot on top would be 0.3333, and it goes on forever. So the way to do it, in your calculator for this fraction here, you put in 117 divided by 234, okay, and make sure that you actually put SD after you got the answer so that it's in decimal. Okay, exactly the same process. You do 5 divided by 8 and put SD, you got 0.625. So those are terminating decimals, they're not recurring decimals. 13 divided by 65, SD, 0.2. 24 divided by 54, press enter, press SD, you got 0.4 with the dot on top. So you know this is actually a recurring decimal. 3 divided by 16 and then SD, 0.1875. Okay, there should be only one correct answer because they say one of these fractions. So Here are. B, which one of the following numbers is a factor of 92? So what is a factor? Let's try to recall this definition first. A factor of a number is basically that number has to be divisible by that factor. So in another word, if I say, what is the factor of 4? You know it would be 1 and 4, because 1 times 4 give you 4. Both of them go into 4 wholly. And then 2 as well, because 2 times 2 give you 4. So 2 is also a factor of 4. Okay, so 4 is divisible by both 1, 4, and 2. Now, the way to do it is you just going to put in your calculator 92 divided by 31 and see if the answer is a whole number or not. So if you've got something like a decimal like this, you know that's not a factor of 92. Now, move on to the next one, 92 divided by 23. So 92 divided by 23, and that is 4. It's a whole number. So 23 is a factor of 92. I would just stop there because they're asking you for which one of the following numbers. So just one of them, okay? But you can try for the rest exactly the same process. C, which one of the following numbers is a multiple of 17? Circle your answer. Now, let me remind you what multiple is. What is the definition of a multiple? Because people get mixed up between factors and multiple. Multiple, it just means times table, basically. So 17 times table, which one of them is in the 17 times table? And the way to do it is you're going just to let the number divided by 17 and see if it is a whole number or not, okay? If it is, then 17 goes into that, and that means that number is a multiple of 17. So I have answer is a decimal, so that's not the correct answer. I try the next one. Also, that's a decimal, so that's not the answer. And then try 2053 divided by 17. That's also a decimal, 120, so that's not the answer. 1853 divided by 17. And that give me, actually, this one here, give me 109. Okay, so I know this is a multiple of 17, and that is your final answer. Question 3. In this question, you will be assessed on the quality of your organization, communication, and accuracy in writing. A company produces 440 boxes, okay? I'm just going to highlight the information. A paper clips each day. Each box contains between 320 and 330 paper clips. Calculate the approximate total number of clips produced in 200 days and give your answer to the nearest 10 million. Now, this is an OCW question. So again, they asking you to explain each step and also include all the relevant units, okay? So it's really important that you don't just write down lots and lots of different calculations without properly explaining what you're doing with them. Right, so this is an approximation question. It rarely comes up this way, okay? And it can look a little bit strange. If you break down the question, it's not that bad at all. It's just people seem to confused the 320, 330 and didn't really know what to do with that bit of the information. So let's see what you know here. So each day you have 440 boxes, okay? And then each box you have 320 to 330 paper clips, okay? So basically it's just common sense here. You can work out how many paper clips per day the company produces. Now, Because this is approximation, you can't just use 320 to 330. You need a number. So any number between 320 to 330, you would get mark for that, okay? Anything less than 320 or more than 330, you won't get any mark for doing that calculation. I'm going to use the average, so the mean, okay, of 320 to 330. I think that's kind of represents that number there. That's probably the best way to do it. So the mean would be just add them together and divide it by 2. And in this case, it's actually the same as median as well, so 325. Now, you don't have to use 325, as I just mentioned. You can use 320, any number between 320 to 330. Okay, so next step is just each day, the number of clips the company produces is, okay, and you just have to work it out. So all you got to do is do the calculation, put that in your calculator, okay, and that should give you 143,000 paper clips, okay. Now they're asking you for 200 days, so in 200 days the company produced, and then just do that answer there you have there. You might have a different answer. So, for example, if you 320 or 321, you times that by 200 days, and that would give you 28,600,000 paper clips. Okay, they're asking you to round that to the nearest 10 million, so nearest 10 million. Okay, just look at the number again. That is your million. That is your million, and that is your 10 million. So I'm going to draw my line between the 10 million and the million. 8 is more than 5, so you have to round the 2 up, so it will be 30 million paper clips. That's your final answer. Question 4. 30 numbers are recorded in the group frequency table below. So you've got group frequency, okay, so 1 to 20, there are 3 of them, or 21 to 40, there are 8 of them, okay. They're asking you what is the smallest possible frequency of the 1 to 30 group. What they have done is actually put the 30 numbers in a table with larger group widths, okay, so different group widths here, but still 30 of them. So what is the smallest possible frequency of the 1 to 30 group? Again, this is quite a strange question, like you haven't actually seen something similar in the past like this. It's not difficult though. So you got 1 to 20, you got 3 of them. Now, 21 to 40, if I break it down 21 to 30 first, and then 30 to 40. Okay, if you think about that. So the smallest frequency for 31 to 30 can be actually 0. There's nothing there, and then you still got 8 between 30 to 40, and that's still making this frequency 8 here between 21 to 40. So that will be the smallest frequency for 21 to 30. 1 to 20 is still going to be 3, not going anywhere. So that will be the smallest possible frequency between 1 to 30, which is 3 plus 0, and just 3. Okay, so you don't have anything between 21 to 30 and just 3 plus 0. What is the greatest possible frequency of the group 31 to 60? So again, I'm looking at 21 to 40 is 8, and then 41 to 60 is 7. Now, if I need 31 to 60, okay, it means I can see what I can get between 31 to 30 and then 31 to 60. Now, the greatest possible frequency would be having all of these 8 here go in that group. Okay, so between 31 to 40, all that 8 go into that group and none in 31 to 30. So 8 plus 7, 8 plus 7, and that would be 15. Okay, so it's not a bad question. It's only 2 marks, so just try to attempt something. If you don't know what to do, come back to the question later and just move on, because there will be questions that you see every single paper. Focus on those questions first, okay, and then come back to the question. Question 5. A camera was switched on at 21:45 on 20th of March 2021. Okay, and it was left continuously filming until the battery ran out. The battery lasted for exactly 2 days and 10 hours. At what time on which date did the battery run out? It's a basic question about time. Okay, so 21:45. Now that is on the 20th of March. Okay, if you add 2 days on it, it's going to be still 21:45, but on the 22nd of March. Okay, nice and easy. Now you're going to add 10 hours, but I'm just going to add probably 3 hours. So I'm going to add 3 hours first, because that will take me to midnight, isn't it? So 21 to 22, 22 to 23, 23 to 24, and that actually going to midnight of the 23rd of March here. Okay, the minutes stay the same. Okay, so that's 3 hours. Now you still need another 7 hours because you got 10 hours. So that would give you 7:45, and that in the morning. Okay, and on the date, the 23rd of March. So 7:45 on the 23rd of March. Okay, so for a time question, just try to break things down. 2 days, nice and easy. 3 hours, 21, 22, 23, 24, which is 0, 0. And then just whatever left, 7 hours. Add 7 and 0, 0, 7 hours. Straightforward then. B, Helen says 15 miles is nearly 25 kilometers. Is she correct? So this is a conversion question. Okay, so all you got to do is you have to know the conversion between mile and kilometers. So they do expect you to know this. Every 5 miles equal to 8 kilometers. And just use that to convert the rest of them. So 15 miles using ratio. How many 5 goes in 15? 3. If you times 3 that side, you times 3 this side. And that would give you 8 times 3, 24 kilometers. So is she correct? Yes, she is correct, because it is almost 25 kilometers. That's it. Okay, now in GCSE, they do expect you to know 3 conversions. The first one is this one. This is number 1. The second one is 1 kilograms is 2.2 pounds. And the third one, which is quite difficult, is quite nasty. I don't like this one because it's hard to remember. So it's 1 liters equals to 1.75 pints. Okay, the way to remember is just remember the bottle of milk, about 2 pints, and it's almost, it's a little bit more than 1 liter. Okay, and that's how you remember it. The 1 kilograms and the 2.2 pounds, just remember a bag of sugar, that would be 1 kilograms, and that will be about 2.2 pounds then. Yeah, but they do expect you to know these in GCSE. Question 6. ABCD and PQRS are both squares. AB is equal to 9 centimeter. Shaded area is equal to 32 centimeters squared. Calculate the length of PQ. Okay, so the first thing with geometry, always label what you know. So I know AB here, okay, that is 9 centimeters. And then I know the area of the shaded area is 32 centimeters squared. And they're asking you for the length of P and Q. Now, I'm going to call PQ X. So with this kind of question, when you have a missing length or you have a missing angle, just call it X, okay? And most of the time it will be an algebra question to do with geometry and algebra together. So with this kind of question, you got to think about what you can work out first. So I actually can work out the area of the bigger square, so A, B, C, D, because I already know one side, okay? So the area of the square is just 9 times 9, which is 81 centimeters squared. So you've got the area of the bigger square like this is 81 centimeters square. Now, if I go into remove the shaded area part, which is 32 centimeters square there, I would get the area of PQRS, okay? So the area of PQRS, I'm going to highlight that for you so you can see it, the area of this square here, okay, will be the area of the big square, A, B, C, D, and just take away the shaded area. Okay, and I know the area of big square, I just worked it out, 31, and take away the shaded area is 32, 49 centimeters squared. Now, so if this is 49 centimeters squared, how do I work out PQ? Remember, the area of PQ is X times X, okay, or PQ times PQ. If you don't want to use algebra, that is X squared, and that equals to 49. So your X, which is your PQ, has to be square root of 49. Not 49 divided by 4, not 49 divided by 2, but you're going backwards to see which number, when you square, get 49, which is equal to 7 centimeters. Question 7a, calculate 13.8 times 0.7 over 9.5, take away 2.8. So for this kind of question, this is actually a really easy question that you need to make sure that you can get all the marks there. So 5 marks for both of them. All you've got to do is put that in your calculator under the fraction button like this, okay? And just literally plug all the number in there. So I'm going to do that here. Apologize again that I don't actually have that software, so I can't really show you. Now in my calculator, I get 483 over 335. Remember to press the button, okay, SD in your calculator, and then you should get 1.44. The dot there, 179104, so on. You need 3 decimal places, so you're going to count 1, 2, 3, draw the line, and here you are. It's 7, so it's more than 5, so 1.442. Okay, and that's 3 decimal places. Now, next one, evaluate 17.5% of 1,600, take away the square root of 8,000. Okay, so 7.5% just means 7.5%. Now, percent means per 100, so that's what you put in your calculator. 17.5 over 100. Of, remember, we say of in maths means times the number, take away. Okay, so that is that bracket there. Take away the square root, okay, of 8,000. So to plug all of that into your calculator, the whole thing. In the calculator, answer should be 190.557289. And it needs to be the nearest whole number. You just draw the straight line and then see. So that is 5. So it's just round the 0 to 1. Your final answer is 191. Easy, easy 3 marks there. All right, it's running a game in a school fair. A large number of balls are placed in a box. Each of the balls is one of three colors: bronze, silver, or gold. In the game, a ball is chosen at random from the box. The table below shows the probability of choosing a bronze ball and the probability of choosing a silver ball. So you've got a probability table here, and you can see the gold is missing. So basically, you would have to work it out. I mean, most of the time it's missing. It means you have to work it out. So let's do that very quickly here. You know, all the probability add up to 1 because of an event. It's 100%. So the probability of gold would just be 1 take away 0.68 take away 0.22. Now, you can do it this way. I mean, it is a calculator paper. If it was in a not calculator paper, you would just add these two first and take away them. So it's probably easier. Now, with a calculator paper, if you put that in your calculator, it should be 0.1. Yeah. Okay. Now, in the game, each person pays £2 to choose a ball random from the box. The ball is then returned to the box. The person wins £3 if the silver ball is chosen. The person wins £8 if a gold ball is chosen, and there's no prize for choosing a bronze ball. 100 people each play the game once. So basically, if you want to work out how much profit, this is quite straightforward. You just have to work out how much the people are going to pay and how much the people are going to take if a person wins, for example. So you got 100 people, and then they will pay. You just times it by 2, and that will be £200. And then that how much people pay. Okay. Now, how much people can take. So, so for the silver ball, if the person wins £3, if it's chosen, so £3, okay, but you're going to times that with 100 people, and you need to times that with the probability, because not 100 people are going to get the bronze, right? So, or get the silver. So it's going to be 0.22 here, because there's only 0.22 chance that person would win. So you times it, it will be 300, yeah, times 0.22, and just put that in your calculator, and that would be £66, okay? And you do exactly the same. You're going to do for the gold ball, okay? So for the gold one, so here you just work out the probability, and you do exactly the same. So it will be 8 times 100 times the probability, that would be 0.1, okay? And that would be £80. So I'm running out of space now. So I just need to go up here to finish it off. So I put that in the boxes. You know that's the final step there. So how much profit? So the profit would just be how much left, isn't it? So they get £200 because that's how much people pay, and then they have to pay for the people who actually won, so which is 66, and then take away 80 as well. Okay, so can you see that is how much they have to pay for the people who actually won, and they get paid as well £200. So you just take away that, and that should give you £54, and that would be the final answer. So a very nice probability question there. It's nothing hard. It's to do a little bit of money, and also it's to do with working out the probability and then expected frequency. Question 9. The n term of a sequence is given by 1.7n take away 3. A. Write out the first 3 terms of this sequence. Again, this is a really straightforward n term question. You know, all you got to do is substitute the n equal to 1, n equal to 2, and then n equal to 3 to work out first, second, and third term. Okay, so when n equals to 1, the first term will be 1.7 times 1 take away 3, and just put that in your calculator. That should be minus 1.3, so minus 1.3. The second term is 1.7 times 2, take away 3, and that is 0.4 in your calculator, so it's 0.4. And the last one is 1.7 times 3, take away 3, and that would be 2.1, and that's your third term, 2.1. Okay, B, which term will be the first whole number in this sequence? So the way to do it is you can try and the fourth term, the fifth term, the sixth term if you want to, or if you think about a number when you times 1.7 and make that decimal point disappear, okay, the decimal point has to disappear so that that becomes a whole number, and then you can take away the 3 and that would be a whole number. So to do that, you just have to times it by 10. That would be the smallest number. Of course, you can times it by other number like 20, for example, or 100, for example, but those numbers are not the smallest number. So the first whole number in this sequence would be 10 term. Okay, but there's nothing wrong with keep trying substituting until you get the first whole number. Question 10. A rectangle has size of length 2 times 3a minus 7 centimeters and 5a plus 4 centimeters, and form an expression in terms of a for the perimeter of this rectangle. And you must simplify your expression. Again, this question is forming equation. It's not equation, but like forming an expression. It's very similar in terms of perimeter here. So perimeter is a distance outside. Okay, so you go around all the edges. Okay, and you just add them. And literally, that's all you're going to do with your algebra here. So on this side here, it will be exactly the same, 5a plus 4. The 2 times 3a minus 7, I would advise just to expand it first, okay, before we actually add them. So if you expand it, it will be 6a minus 14. It's just multiply it out, okay? So that will be exactly the same, 6a minus 14. And just add them all up as you go along. So I will start with 6a minus 14 plus 5a plus 4 plus 6a minus 14, okay? And then plus 5a plus 4, and that is your expression. We're going to collect all the like terms, so 6a plus 5a, remember that's a plus there, plus 6a plus 5a, okay? And that would give me 22a's. And then we're going to collect all the number, and remember you got the minus there, so minus 14 plus 4 minus 14 plus 4. Just put that in your calculator exactly in that order. If I can do it in my head as well, like minus 28 plus 8, that will be minus 20. And that is your final answer. Question 11. A company has 2 sites. One is in North Wales and the other in South Wales. The pie charts below show the distribution of its 96 part-time staff and its 150 full-time staff. A person is chosen at random from the company's 246 staff members, and what is the probability that this person works at the site in North Wales? It looks like an easy question, but it's actually not. It's a bit confusing. So if you don't actually break it down, you can get the wrong answer, even it's just a pie chart question. So to make it a little bit more clear, you have 246 staff member here, and that is actually 96 part-time staff and 150 full-time staff, okay? Now, in part-time staff, they're North Wales and South Wales staff, and then in full-time staff, you have North Wales and South Wales staff as well. So the thing that you have to actually work out is how many people in North Wales, how many staff in North Wales, basically. So to work out the number of part-time, so North Wales, okay, staff, and then part-time. This is 90 degrees, which is a quarter, so you can do a quarter of 96, or you do 90 divided by 360 times 96. That is the same as a quarter times 96, okay? And then we'd get 24, put that in your calculator, that it will be 24 people. Okay, and then you've got the North Wales. Again, we're just looking at North Wales staff, but full time. And that would be, now you have 144 degrees out of 360 degrees, and you just times that with 150. And you put that in your calculator, that should give you 60 people, okay, or staff members. Okay, so a person is chosen at random from the company's 246 staff members. Okay, so probability that this person works as a site in North Wales, you have to add these two to see how many staff in North Wales. So staff in North Wales would be, you add them, so 24 as 60, and that would be 84 people. Okay, and the probability, okay, now it's easy now, would be 84 is how many staff members in North Wales divided by the total, and that is your probability. And you don't actually have to put that in the simplest form, and that should be your final answer. Question 12. The solution of the equation x to the power of 3 plus 3x equal to 20 lies between 2 and 3. Use a method of trial and improvement to find the solution correct to one decimal place. Okay, you must show all your working. Now, I suggest that you, if you haven't done this topic before, go away and look up trial improvement and have a go at them first, because this topic will definitely be in your calculator paper. Okay, and it's one of the topics that always comes, and it doesn't change at all. So sometimes simultaneous equation, you can have something in worded question, it can be a bit harder, or angles, it can come different style of questions. But this trial and improvement question, it never changes. It's exactly the same. So if you actually haven't done the topic, just go away, practice, and come back and do question 12 in the paper. And that way you know if you can actually tackle a past paper question. So with this question, there are always 4 marks. Okay, so the way to do it is always draw a table. Okay, through columns. Okay, the first one you always write down x, okay, which is your solution. Second one, just write down your equation. Okay, just actually write down the left hand side only, which is x to the power of 3 plus 3x, and to see what is that going to be equal to. And then write down too small or too big, and I will explain what it means here. Okay. Now, so you know the solution lies between 2 and 3. So it could be anything. It could be 2.1, 2.3, 2.4. I will start with 2.1, okay? My personal choice. You can start with 2.5. It's up to you. So on your calculator, just plug it in exactly like this, okay? So 2.1 to the power of 3 plus 3 times 2.1, okay? You substitute the x in. And in my calculator, I got 15.561, okay, and so on. Of course, it's not near to 20, it's smaller, so I will write too small, okay? And I need to try something closer to 20, so I will jump to 2.4. Again, it's personal preference. You can try different number. 2.3, for example, is up to you. Exactly the same. Just plug that in your calculator, and I would get 21.024. Now, this is too big because it's bigger than 20. The aim is you need 2 consecutive numbers. Consecutive means 2.4 and 2.3, for example, or 2.4 and 2.5. One of them has to be too big, one of them has to be too small. So I would try go back 2.3 because that is too big, and I'm hoping this 2.3 will be too small. So 2.3 to the power 3 plus 3 times 2.3, that would be 19.067 in my calculator. So it's too small now, okay, which is good. If it was too big, I would have to go back to do 2.2 as well. So this is what I mean consecutive. You've got too big and you've got too small here. Okay, and that is perfect now. What we need to do next step now, you have to go exactly in the middle. So you got 2.35. Okay, and you need to try this as well. Substitute that in your expression there. Okay, and in my calculator, I get 20.027, and they will be too big. Okay, now the final step, you're going to draw the line. You're going to write down 2.3, 2.4, and then 2.35. And then just write down if it's too small or too big. So this is too small, this is too big, and this is too big, okay? Imagine your solution has to lie between somewhere, okay, here. But if all of this is too big, the solution not going to be in here. It has to go inside here where it lies between something too small or something too big. So it's somewhere there. And if it's somewhere there, it can be 2.34, 2.33, or 2.345, whatever it is, it's going to round down. It's going, when you round to one decimal place, it's going to round to 2.3, right? So your final answer should be 2.3 to one decimal place. Now, but in the exams, if you can't really remember what I just explained there, or you don't really understand that, the easiest way to think about it, or the easiest way to remember it, it's always going to be the odd one out. So the odd one out is always going to be the odd one out. So the too big, it always to be the one different, which is too small there. And that will be your final answer. Question 13, show that the triangle below is not a right angle triangle. So not a right angle triangle just means none of them is 90 degrees. So, I mean, immediately when you look at the x there and the angle there, you've got to think about algebra and forming equation. So you know angles in a triangle all add up to 180 degrees. So basically just add them all up. So 2x plus 9 plus x plus 20 plus 5x minus 17. That has to be equal 180 degrees. Collect all the like terms. So 2x plus x plus 5x. That'll give you 8x, okay? And then plus 9 plus 20 minus 17. Put all that in your calculator, and that should be plus 12 equals 180 degrees. And then 8x, just solve it, will be 180 degrees. Take away 12. Yeah, so to take away 12 both sides. And then you got 8x equals 168. And then you divide by 8 on both sides. Okay, and then you've got x equal to 21. Okay, so, but they're not asking you to calculate x, they're actually asking you to prove that it's not a right angle triangle, so you have to substitute it back in. Okay, so let's substitute it back in. So I'm going to write somewhere here. So you substitute back in, and let's start with 5x minus 17. So just write down 5 times 21, take away 17, and that will give you 88 degrees. Okay. And then you do similar, 2x plus 9, and that will be 2 times 21 plus 9, and that will give you 51, okay? And the last bit would be x plus 20, and just 21 plus 20, and that's 41, okay? And because you got all the angles here, and you just write down the closing statement that none of the angles is 90 degrees, so not a right angle triangle. And that's it. That is very nice for 5 marks. Question 14. Calculate the length of side AB in the triangle shown below. Now, whenever you see a right angle triangle in a calculator paper, you have some angle here, and then you've got sides as well. So that just means that this has to be a trigonometry question. If it doesn't have any angle, just say 2 sides and asking you for another side, and that should be Pythagoras theorem. That is quite popular in a calculator paper as well. So the first step for a trigonometric question would be label. So number 1, you always label first. So what we had to label here, we had to label the opposite, okay, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse, okay? Now, hypotenuse is always the longest side, and it's the opposite to the 90 degree. Opposite is the one that actually opposite to the angle that was given. So this is the opposite, which is CB. And adjacent is the one that next to the angle was given. So this is adjacent, okay? The second step, you will write down all the trigonometric identities. So, ka, toa. Okay, and this is how we remember all these. So psi is equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. Cosine or cos is equal to adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And tan or tangent is equal to opposite divided by adjacent. Okay, now the next step, number 3, would be very important. You're going to tick the one that you know and the one that you need to work out. So you need to work out AB, which is adjacent. So A needs to be in the equation. You also been given the angle A, okay? So you know all the sine, the cosine, and the tan of A. You also been given AC, which is the hypotenuse. I've actually forgot to label that there, but it's really important, that's step 1. So hypotenuse, so that would be H. So tick H, okay? And of course, you know adjacent as well in tan. But the one that has 3 ticks, okay? That would be the one that we're going to use. So we write down cos. Now, sine, cosine, tan, they always come with the angle. So you can't just write cos equals to. It has to come with the angle. So cos of 41 degrees equals to adjacent, yeah? Over hypotenuse, okay? Adjacent is AB, okay? And hypotenuse is 13.8, okay? Now, this is very similar to when you solve something like this. So AB is X, you don't know, it's unknown. X over, say, divided by 4 equal to 5. How would you solve that? You would just times 4 on both sides, yeah? So you times 4 on both sides, times 4 on both sides. And that cancel each other out, so that equals to 5 times 4, which is 20. So this is exactly the same. Just think about your AB here is actually an X on top, divided by 13.8. So to work out X, so for solve, okay, you just write down X equals 13.8 times cos 41. Yeah, or cos 41 times 13.8, it would be the same. Okay, and just work that out. So in my calculator, I have 10.414992221 and so on. So that would be 10.42, 2 decimal places. Okay, they don't ask you, so just write down whatever decimal places you think appropriate. I would advise about 2 decimal places. And here you are, that's your final answer, centimeters. Question 15, I expand x times x squared plus 7. All you got to do is just multiply it out. So x times x squared will be x to the power of 3. X times 7 will be 7x. B, expand and simplify x minus 5 times 3x minus 4. So again, this is a double bracket. You're going to multiply everything out. Start with the x first. X times 3x will be 3x squared. X times minus 4 will be minus 4x. Minus 5 times 3x minus 5x. And minus 5 times minus 4 is the plus 20. Okay? And you always can simplify the one in the middle. So 3x squared, take away 9x plus 20. And that is your final answer. B, Sarah buys and sells antique clocks. On Monday, Sarah had n clocks, and at the end of the day on Tuesday, she had 5 times as many clocks as she had on a Monday. And on Wednesday, she sold 27 clocks. You start with the Monday, which is n. Okay. Now, she had 5 times as many clocks as she had on Monday. So that is Monday. Tuesday would be 5n. Okay. And Wednesday, she sold 27. So just 5n, take away 27. And that will be the expression for Wednesday. Now, At the end of the day on Wednesday, Sarah had fewer class than she had on Monday. So fewer means less than. Monday means n, so less than n. So that would be your final inequality. Okay, so I'm going to just put that in the box there. That's your final inequality. B, solve your inequality to find the greatest number of class that Sarah could have had on the Monday. So when they say solving inequality, it's literally the same as solving equation. It's just you have an inequality side there, less than sign. So we start with phi n minus 27 less than n. Okay, to solve x on both sides or n on both sides, you take away the smallest x or smallest n here, which is n, to get rid of it. So phi n take away n is 4n, take away 27 less than n take away n 0. Okay, so exactly the same as you saw, 4n minus 27 equals 0. Okay, so you add 27 on both sides. 4n less than 27, n less than, just divided that by 4, divided by 4, so 27 divided by 4, and n less than 6.75. Now, what is the greatest number of clocks that Sarah could have had on Monday? The clock can't be 6.5 or 6.75, so the greatest number of clocks equal to 6. It has to be 6, a whole number. Question 16, A number when increased by 4% is equal to n. Which of the following calculation would give you the original number? Right, so this is a little bit like reverse percentage because they're asking you to go back to the original number. So when you increase a number, basically your multiplier, okay, will equal to 100% you start with plus 4%, which is 104%. But we always use that as a decimal with a multiplier, which is 1.04. You just divide that by 100 to get 1.04. Okay, so that's the multiplier. So you basically have 1.04 is now equal to n, to the number. So you want to go back to the original number, which is 1 or 100%. You just do n divided by 1.04. Okay, and you divide that by multiplier, you're going back to your n. So that has to be n divided by 1.04. B, the number shown on each diagram below is 20% greater than the number shown on the previous diagram. Okay, so again, this is a kind of a compound interest question, but being asked in a different way. So when you start with 100, if you got increased by 20%, that just means your multiplier, so 20% at 100%, and that will be your multiplier, which is 1.2 in decimal. So basically, you just times it with 1.2 and you get the next number. Okay, and it increase again, you just times it by 1.2 again. So diagram 4 would be just times it by 1.2. Yeah, it will be a bit taller. I just represent it that way. Okay, and then you times 1.2 again, and then you have diagram 5. Okay, now make sure this needs to be taller, but I just draw it that way. And then times 1.2 again, and that will be your diagram 6. Okay, so what you've done there is 144 times the multiplier, times the multiplier, times the multiplier. So 144 times 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. And in my calculator, that was 248.832, and that is your final answer. Question 17, factorize x squared minus 4x minus 12 and hence solve x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals to 0. And I will do a separate video just on factorizing. I have done it for higher tier, but I haven't got time to do for intermediate tier with all the past paper questions. But again, this is a standard question. It does come up quite often. Okay, so to factorize, this is the way I do it. Always write P and M. Okay, so P means plus, and that is the coefficient of x, so it's minus 4, not plus 4. M means multiply, okay? And that is that number there, which is minus 12. So I'm thinking about a pair of numbers that times give you minus 12 and adds give you minus 4. So what goes into 12? I can start with 1 and 12. So one of them has to be negative, so say minus 12, but that won't work. I start with 2 and minus 6. So I can start adding them. So 2 plus minus 6, that does work because that would give me minus 4. Okay, so I actually have a pair of numbers there. But if you write minus 2 and 6 and you add them, you got 4, you know it doesn't work and you have to go back and try different numbers, okay, or different size. So 2 and minus 6, so just write it down at x minus 6 times x plus 2 equal to 0, and that's it. You get 1 mark for that, 1 mark for that. And to solve it, just make each of it equal to 0. So x minus 6 equals 0, x equal to 6. And x plus 2 equals 0, x equal to minus 2. And that's it. That's your final answer.